Hi, I've been noticing that some people are having trouble with the concept of spread on the exercises and online, and I wanted to make a little video to try to help with that. So the main thing I want you to know right off the bat is that spread is not any one thing. It is actually a little bit more complicated than that, and we haven't talked about it a lot in class, and hopefully this example will help. So I'm going to make a plot of this data, which is about babies, 44 babies. And what we know about them is their gender and some information about when they were born, and then we know their weight. I'm going to take that weight variable and I'm going to put it down there. And I'm going to, sorry about that, it's too loud, I apologize. And I'm going to pull that to the side and make a dot plot that we're familiar with. Then I'm going to put gender in there also. And you'll see now that we have, so we're going to talk about the girls. The shape of that is skewed to the left probably. And then its center is around maybe 3,400 grams. And then maybe have some outliers, especially that one there is an outlier down there below 1,800 grams. These also might be outliers, but there are certainly none else out there. For the boys, they're also centered around 3,400 grams. And they have outliers down here. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it's pretty symmetric graph for the boys. And outlier there. I wouldn't call that one an outlier. Maybe some people would. I probably wouldn't call that one an outlier, although it might be. But now let's talk about spread. To do that, I want to show you some text that I prepared. So I'm going to make a little text box here. And here's what I've got. So there are three ways to talk about spread, or some people call it variation sometimes. That's the more fancy statistical word. One way is with the min to max interval, another is with the overall range, and the third is with the interval of typical measurement, which is also known as typical range. These are the three ways that you're supposed to talk about spread in Project 7A. So for the female babies, the girls, first let's talk about min to max interval. There's the minimum value, and it's on 1,745 grams. And here's the maximum value, which is on 3,866 grams. So the min to max interval for the girls is 1,745 to 3,866 grams. That's from here to there. The overall range is just the subtraction of those two. So that, if you do 38,866 minus 1,745, you get 2,121 grams. That's the overall range for the girls. For the interval of typical measurement, yeah, that one is a little bit less clear. Those first two are just, the period there, but those first two are, there's really only one answer for them. These two are it. But for the interval of typical measurement or typical range, there can be some disagreement. So for me, when I look at the interval of typical measurement for the girls, I say, well, these are pretty unusual, not really typical, and neither are these that typical. So I'm going to say that typical ones are from here to here, right, in that area. Well, that means that one is the low part of that, which is at 3,116 grams. And then the high end of that typical area, typical range, is at 3,542 grams. And so I wrote the interval of typical measurement is from 3,116 to 3,542 grams. That's for girls. For boys, I would say that here we have the min to max interval starts at around 2,100 grams and goes up to almost 4,200 grams. So that's our min to max interval. And then our overall range is not a little bit smaller than for girls, because if I subtract those two, I'm going to get a little less than 2,100 grams, but still pretty close to the girls' range. And then the interval of typical measurement say it's also pretty similar to the girls, maybe from something like there at 3150, 3,150 grams, up to maybe there at 3,630 grams. So that one there, you can see there might be some disagreement. Some people might say it's a little bit smaller. Maybe it goes from here to here, or maybe it goes from a little bit bigger, like here to here. You could have a little bit of argument, but basically it's going to be somewhere like here to here, here to here, somewhere in that area. A lot of times in person, I'll be using my hands. I'll kind of put them up like a, I gotta make this work in the video. Sorry, gotta put them up like this and say it's in between the hands, and you can kind of measure it that way, and I can do that in person. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful. Oh, and one more thing. I would say using these measurements and what I see also visually, that they're actually very similar in spread, both the girls and the boys. I would say that the girls are a little bit more spread than the boys because the range is a little bit larger, and because the overall range, the min-max interval is a little bit larger, and then also because there's just less babies in the typical range here than there are in the boys. All right, I think that's enough. I hope you've gotten something out of this, and I'll be seeing you online and in class. Thanks very much.